Yeah.
Once again, how long has it been since the last time we did this?
It's been
3
a couple
weeks?
weeks. 2-3 weeks,
Yeah.
something like that.
Feel like
The Iran war had just started.
Yep.
Pam Bondi was still the Attorney General.
Pam.
Yeah.
We hardly knew ye.
Yeah. I was disappointed.
You disappointed in Pam or disappointed to get rid of Pam?
No, in Pam.
Dude, she sucked.
I feel like there's a lot of things that could have been better there, but yeah, is what it is.
Yeah, no, that's an accurate statement. Oh man, it's so crazy. I don't think. I'm trying to think. Yeah, the most turnaround I've ever had on a political team before this was George Bush Jr. Like I voted for Bush in 2000. I thought he was awesome. I was like, dude, Al Gore's a schmuck, and this guy's so cool.
Humble diplomacy. He was a great governor, all this other stuff.
Totally. And what's funny is the same thing that happened then happened this time, which is, if you look back, and somebody was making this claim the other day, and I was like, actually, I think I may agree with that. 9 times out of 10 in a presidential election,
okay,
what people vote for, typically, among other things, but almost universally, is the no war or less war candidate. Almost every time.
Really?
Yeah. So if you remember George Bush campaigning in 2000, it was like no nation building, focus on domestic issues, no foreign adventures, et cetera. And his administration turned to be the exact opposite of that, right?
Yeah, almost exactly.
Almost exact opposite, other than the incumbent re-election elections, right? So like Kerry versus Bush in 2004. I mean, Kerry was perceived as the less war candidate. However, because of the Swift Boat campaign and a couple other things, his valor itself was called into question. So then it was like, well, he's just a can I say pussy on the internet?
He's a coward.
He came across. He wasn't, but like he just came across that way, I think, to the public, and so it was like unpatriotic, to vote for him with some people. I think enough of a size of a people. But then Obama versus McCain, McCain was like, my foreign policy is bomb Iran, right? And Obama was like, we're not doing that. And in fact, we're going to close Guantanamo. We're going to do all this stuff. And then did the exact opposite, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Trump, Hillary was definitely more neocon, more foreign adventure, foreign engagement. Trump was like, that's stupid. We're not doing that anymore. And then
Biden was not.
Biden was not, but Biden was that's an anomaly. I mean, it's just a reaction to Trump.
No.
Anything else.
And the most popular president. He's won more votes, more popular than Obama. Yep. You have to remember, 81 million votes.
Yep, that's right. Yep,
completely real.
Yeah, completely real. And then this time, Trump versus Kamala. Kamala was on the campaign trail with Liz Cheney, and we're going to engage for it. All this more war in Ukraine, and Trump's like, no. So the public, in my opinion, they're not for any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
In general, it's like, look, that's great, we get it, but schools, roads, infrastructure, right, all this other family support, all this stuff, and it's just. I don't know if you saw Trump's. So 2 days ago, I guess Trump made that speech. Made the market completely tank yesterday.
I just saw clips. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the impression that I got, and I think that most people got watching it, was like, I mean, it's typical Trump, to start off the speech with just a collection of his greatest hits, but it was like a 15-minute. Soliloquy through his greatest true socials ever or whatever, and then it's like, hey, literally, we don't have a plan. We don't know how to reopen the strait. That's on your that's on you guys. If you guys want the oil from there, you should probably freaking figure that out. We're almost done with our objectives. Good luck. which to be expected. I mean, he's trying to reset the expectations so he can get out of there without looking like a complete fool. But was the speech that he made before that? I don't know if you saw this, but there was a speech that he made before that was to a private group, but somebody had recorded it. And I guarantee you this will be cut in every Democratic ad campaign.
Okay. This one's
for the next 2 years.
Juicy, yeah.
Dude, and I'll try to look it up while we're talking, but it was just like, he literally said, look, people want all these things from the government, Medicare, Social Security, childcare, all this other kind of stuff. We don't have the money for that. We don't have the money for that. That's going to have to be your state. Like, I mean, we're not going to be able to keep doing Medicare. We're not going to be able to keep doing Social Security. We're not going to be able to keep doing this. This is going to be a state thing. And I don't know how the states are going to figure that out. They're probably going to have to raise your taxes, and maybe we can charge them a little less taxes on the federal side to kind of even it out. But it's going to have to be done on the state level. We can't do that anymore because the federal government, has to be focused on war. We have to be focused on, beefing up our military and all this other kind of stuff. And I'm like, dude, I can't imagine a more like, and of course, like he says a bunch of stuff that never sticks, and people are like, oh, he's through now, but I just, he's not on the ballot after this.
Right. You can say whatever he wants.
Assuming he, submits to the, constitutional structure, which that's still up for debate, in my opinion. But like, if he does and exits, I just don't. It's a crazy thing to say that because that's what people go to the ballot box and vote for, is the candidate that supposedly is going to make their life better. Ask yourself, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Right? I mean, like, and that same statement has been used to, like, get people elected, get people reelected, boot people out of office. I mean, that's what people care about. In what way are you making my life better? And to say we don't have any money to make your life better because we have to focus on all these wars that none of you voted for. I mean, nobody voted for these wars. Everybody, in fact, voted for the opposite when they voted you into office.
Yeah.
That's something else.
Well, so a couple things from my end on this one. So as far as like the no plan and trying not to look like a fool and stuff, I think there's something that I find kind of difficult. There's a thesis in there that I find difficult to accept.
Okay, go for it.
And the thesis is that the amount of smart people, we might disagree with them as far as like their ideals or whatever, as far as like smart people in the Pentagon and Department of Defense, all that up until the time they started dropping bombs on Iran, they'd never heard of the Strait of Hormuz before. And they were unaware of how precarious it would be and how difficult it would be to keep it open. And they just didn't realize that Iran could.
Who said this?
No, I'm saying, like, the thesis is, it's like, oh my gosh, we started bombing Iran and we just figured nothing would happen. And look, there's this little corner of the Persian Gulf here that all this traffic goes through. And we had no idea it was there. And they're
well, hold on. But who are you saying is saying this? Who's saying they didn't know about the Strait of Hormuz?
I think people are asking. People are talking about it as though the military was completely caught off guard by the strategic location of the Strait of Hormuz.
He said they were.
No. Listen.
Trump said they were.
Listen. Hold on.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
So I think that thesis, given how much stuff that has already been going on with there, and the way that they'll occasionally get like the Yemeni, the Houthi group, like send gunboats out there and do some piracy in the strait and all this other stuff, that like they know about this. They already knew about it. I think the miscalculation here is that the people who depend on that strait is not the U.S. Like, almost none of our resources come in and out, or the resources that we use within the U.S. come in and out through that channel. That's almost all stuff going to other parts. You have Europe relies on stuff coming in and out of there. Stuff further east relies on imports and exports, ships coming in and out of there. But we're not. So I think that's
incorrect, buddy. Like the oil markets are global markets. So
Right.
we generate enough oil to be self-sustaining, but we don't. Like if you go look, you can go look it up. Like we trade, because we produce crude, it has to be refined, et cetera.
Yeah.
We don't have the infrastructure to process all the oil that we need. We sell our oil on the international market. That it's back and forth. That's why the price of oil has doubled.
Right.
So that does affect us.
It does affect us. It does affect us. But what I'm trying to get at is that I think the expectation was, and this was now that we found out, false expectation. I think the expectation was that all of the European countries and the other Middle Eastern countries would look at this issue and say, "Oh, we are highly dependent on a functioning Strait of Hormuz here, so we're all in to protect this thing and to patrol it and keep it clear and all this other stuff." And instead, what they did was they said, "Well, look, America started this. America and Israel started this, and so you break it, you buy it. You screwed up the balance of power there in the strait, and so now you have to patrol it. You have to fix it. You have to do all this other stuff." And so then it's like an outrage that you would declare, mission accomplished or whatever, and say, "Well, the strait's not our problem." It's like, well, it became your problem, And so I think some of the angrier comments coming out of the administration have been aimed really not towards, say, the Saudis or even the Iranian government, but towards NATO, because I think there was this expectation. Like, they knew the strait was important, but they just expected that Europe would get on board because they required, that kind of stuff. So, acknowledge they didn't anticipate the shutdown, right? Because they figured, well, we're all going to be on board on this thing, obviously, and that's not true. Okay, but I think there's this impression out there that based on the way some of these news reports are written, it's sort of like, oh my gosh, these generals that have been over there, that they just didn't even realize the strait was there, or that it was anything.
The generals are on record saying that they told him, "Do not do this because they'll close the Strait of Hormuz," and he was like, "I don't care," and did it anyway. And I do believe that's very possible,
right?
Don't
because they figured, again, falsely, that Europe would do what they needed to do in order to keep it open. NATO would come to the rescue.
How are they going to do anything? They don't have any troops over there. There are no troops over there. Obviously, we're having to send all of our own troops, and we still haven't opened it.
Well, all of them. We have almost no troops over there.
What are you talking about? They're sending. There's 2,500. They're about to land in the next few days.
That's nothing. That's almost nothing.
Almost nothing.
Yeah, that's very few soldiers.
That's all Bush had to send into what was that place, Liberia, to put down that civil war. It's a lot.
It's very few soldiers.
Okay.
If you're talking about like a ground invasion,
we went from zero boots on the ground. The regime will collapse in days. They're not going to close the strait. No ripple in the oil markets. To we had no idea that we're going to close the strait, so I guess we're going to send some. We had no idea that you guys wouldn't want to take part. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
like I said,
pretty obvious what's going on in the. I mean, just
Yeah, it seems like there was miscalculation there. It looks to me, again, as just an observer of what's going on, that the miscalculation was more on the Allied side of things rather than the belligerent side of things.
But why would he have thought that our allies were going to participate when they weren't consulted, they weren't brought into the conversation? He's been insulting them nonstop for months. It's totally predictable. Everything you're seeing is totally predictable, don't you think?
Well,
are you surprised that at anybody's response here? To me, when you look, there's nothing surprising about anybody's response. The only surprising thing about any of it is that we actually initiated this. To me,
yeah.
But what are you surprised at, if anything?
I think if we were talking about standard nation states, that I'd probably wind up agreeing with you.
I'm talking about the nation states that do exist right now, and given everything that we know has happened over the last year,
is
anything surprising about it?
But the nation states that exist now are mean, especially the European ones. I mean, they're sort of barely nation states. Like they can't they they don't really even have like real militaries the way that they would have like they outsourced almost all of their military stuff to us. Like it's
Exactly. That's my point.
but what I'm saying though is that like they're not paying their own way. They're vassals of the United
I
States.
agree.
And so I think what happened was that somebody over there, maybe it was Trump personally, I don't know, thought to themselves, these are our pieces on the chessboard.
We'll just order them in. Yeah,
we'll order them in because, like, well, what are they going to do? Like, they can't wipe their noses without us giving them the permission to do it anyway. And so,
okay, so you would agree that's a miscalculation?
Well, yeah, but I'm saying it's a miscalculation in hindsight, not a It's not like you're sitting there going like, yeah, the country that.
When have we ever ordered any of our allies' troops to go somewhere and they did it? When? Like, name me one time.
The Iraq War.
No, we didn't order them. That was, in fact, if you remember, it was the coalition of the willing.
Yeah,
that's right. And a bunch of them were like, no, we're not doing that. Like,
yeah, there's a few that balked. France was one.
A few, all the big ones. It was like these, I mean,
England went, Australia went, the Anglophone world went. Yeah,
Anglophone.
Spain, I think, went. There were several. I mean, the issue though, like I said, is so one of the things that Trump has been doing rather consistently, and again, for good or bad, I'm not trying to make a claim about it, but it's like pushing some of the boundaries to be like, well, hey, wait a minute, we're the ones holding the cards, so we should play the hand in a way that is advantageous to us instead of wondering how other people will play their. Like, doesn't matter how they play there. We're the ones with the cards. So it's like, well, look, we're the one with the military. We're the one that's protecting you. You're trading all of your oil and every other asset in our dollars. So we're going to do this, and you have to follow. We're the ones holding the cards.
Yeah, that was a big miscalculation.
Well, yeah. So
that was a big mistake. And here's the likely outcome, in my opinion, too, is that all of these nations, the reason that they continue to trade oil and dollars, which props up our economy, like if they stop doing that, we're all screwed. We all agree on that. So like the only thing, anybody who's like even at a modicum level, like I'm not as educated as other people, you're way more educated than I am. I just, to me, it's like, if you have one job, is to keep the petrodollar functional, like ultimately, like, because nothing else works without the petrodollar. And
sure.
So, right. And so if I mean, that's the number one thing. If you don't do anything else, do that. And it's like, the only reason that these countries continue to do that is because the system is advantageous for them, right? They have the same view that Trump does. Maybe they don't say it as inelegantly, or maybe they're not as like saying the quiet part out loud, like the way that we always laugh about. But like, that's kind of the understanding, is that we, because of our military presence, guarantee the safe flow of oil and other commerce, but mostly oil, around the world. And as long as we're protecting that, then it kind of creates this illusion of, hey, we live in America's world. Okay. But that illusion, did you watch that Tucker video I sent you?
No.
He lays it out better than I can. That's why I wanted to share it, because I was like, dude, this is exactly what I've been saying. I mean, he is, in my opinion, 100% dead on the money. Like now we know that American force cannot, we can't even open that strait back up. So it's like, if we can't even open the strait back up, see, think about this. The Iranians, it's not like the old days where they just mine the strait and nobody can get through. They have smart munitions in there, so they can like charge tolls, which is what they're doing. They're charging tolls to other countries to come through the strait, right? And also they're making them pay. They won't pay it in dollars. They want Chinese yuan. And the thing is can you see like a possibility where like BRICS holds out and says, hey, look, for the first two of you guys that are on SWIFT, for the first two that bail on that and come over to BRICS, we're going to give you a 10-year, tax holiday or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
And the minute the first two go, that's it. The rest of them are gonna that'll be dominoes. At least that's a potential for dominoes.
Well, now one other thing that I think I've been very hesitant about as well is I know it's been like 4 weeks or 5 weeks, however long this has been, is like an absolute insane amount of time in a world that involves short form video where you're like, we've been at war for 6 weeks.
It has nothing to do with short form video. It has to do with oil reserves. Like these countries that I think the report I heard yesterday was we have 48 hours until they're depleted. Like there's videos right now of who's the guy in Korea, the South Korea president. Or why are you smiling?
I was just saying my point was not that like the world will be fine without oil for a few months. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that when we're trying to figure out has this military event been successful or not, 4 or 5 weeks is not a very long time to gauge that.
At what point would you say this was a knuckleheaded move? Like at what point would you feel comfortable saying that?
Well, we've yet to see, like, I think part of it is going to be judged by the exit. Right. So like if say the US
style of exit, like who saves face in the exit?
No. What I'm saying is
like let's say that we have a great exit. Was it still a smart move?
So a great exit would be what? A regime change in Iran, democratic Iran.
He already said he doesn't care about that. That was 2 days ago in his speech.
I know.
That's not on our list.
He doesn't care about that. I don't know what Israel cares about. There's more than one person involved in this thing.
I guarantee you Israel does care about it. That's why like even if we exit and say, hey, we checked all the boxes, Israel has no incentive to capitulate on this thing at all until so they're in.
Right.
So that means that whole we're in.
So let's say we're out, we stop. Israel continues. 4 months later, 5 months later, there's regime change in Iran, and we have a democratic Iran. Okay. And then you say, well, that would have never happened without this 6-week, 7-week long intensive barrage in the United States that really kind of jump-started this process. And now we see the fruits of it later, after 4 months. They would say, well, gosh, 4 months of like a lot of uncertainty and everybody's upset. But then after that, you get a democratic Iran. And it's like, oh, well, this was great. It's like a temporary pain for long-term benefit,
And then a Fox News talking point. I can't believe you just put that up.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if that's the case, then it's like, well, then that talking point turns out to be true.
Sure. If on the other hand, if Iraq had just capitulated and ISIS hadn't rose up and blah blah blah,
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like in 4 months from now, or however, whatever, it's like, oh no, like we do get regime change, but we get something like the Taliban. So even worse, it's like
that's what's totally predictable. Like it's totally predictable. Like we learn from history, right?
That doesn't always happen.
Okay, name me one time when it did happen the way we wanted it to.
Like all revolutions turn out to be like,
all revolutions. This is a foreign intervention. Nobody asked for this. Iran wasn't attacking anybody. Like this whole thing. This was a total like choice that we did according to Rubio because Israel forced our hand. Everybody in the administration said that for a whole day until these talking points don't work. So. And the people that have left, like Joe Kent and some of these other guys that have left the government, they're 100% on that line. Like that is what happened, and they can try to rewrite the story now. But I mean, ultimately, that's what happened. So
I don't know. Like I think warfare is kind of weird. Like for me, I tend to lean a little bit more consequentialist on some of this stuff. Where I say like whether or not it turned out to be a good idea, you find out later. Maybe you go in with the best of intentions and hope, but it turns out you're the bad guy anyway.
What good? Again, like so, if his
job, I guess if you're saying all of the possibilities are negative, hold on, there aren't any good outcomes.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he's the representative of America, which is made up of American citizens.
Mm-hmm.
He ran against doing this. There was no imminent threat. According to everyone who's come out and said, the only people that are saying there was an imminent threat,
It's even more 2 weeks than it has been before.
Exactly. There's no imminent threat. everybody who has anything to do with the situation said there was no imminent threat over and over again.
Yeah.
So nobody in the country voted for that. Everybody voted for lower price. Everybody voted for less adventurous. Everybody voted for more money spent at home. And now we find ourselves and say, oh yeah, we're not going to be able to do any of that stuff because we have to go fight these wars. Like, what are you talking about? And then, and there's no, okay. If I made the most rosy prediction possible, hey, we're going to have regime change, a democratic government in Iran who's a friend of America. It's going to be amazing. Even then it's like, okay, but over what wreckage? So we've lost so much of the illusion of power that we were projecting. We've depleted, all the reports are out there. They've depleted like almost all of the, what do you call it? The missile interceptors. Meanwhile, Iran has like another year and a half to 2 years worth of supplies at their current pace. It's just like, so you think the most likely outcome when he's saying, if you don't capitulate and appoint a new leader, whatever, we're going to bomb you back to the Stone Age, like that was yesterday. That brings out the desire in the populace to like, oh, please forgive us for standing up for our country. You know, that's not, look at all the protests that were against the regime last month. Now you have demonstrations in support of the regime, of course, because you're under attack. It's it's crazy to me. Like the ramifications we already see are so negative.
So all I can say is, from my perspective, it seems very early to start writing the postmortem on it.
I'm not writing a postmortem. I'm giving my early impressions. It's like if I had to take a pee break 15 minutes into the movie, you're right, it's a 2-hour movie, but 15 minutes in, I had to take a pee break. And while I'm taking my pee break, I go, this movie just doesn't seem like it's going to end well, right?
It's not going to
go okay well for me to have that opinion too.
And I think that's fine. Like if you're, that's the thing. It's like, if you're saying, hey, from the standpoint of right now, you know, how does it look? And it's like, yeah, it doesn't look great. Don't like it. Don't like this. Don't like this. Don't like this. Don't like this. I just go off the list, and we'd probably have the same list. And so it's like, yeah, I don't like any of this. And so I mean,
where was it to our advantage to do this? What was the expectation? Even their own plans. They were saying, we thought this would be over in a couple of days, just like Venezuela. It's like, well, yeah, but this isn't Venezuela, and Venezuela isn't sitting on the Straits of Hormuz and all this other stuff that your commanders already told you that you blew them all off, which we already have reporting on all of that. I can see, I can, you know, like, you and I have a lot of different conversations, sometimes agreeing, sometimes disagreeing, but like in every situation, what you're really good at that I appreciate is you're really able to put yourself in the other person's shoes and say, okay, let me think through their eyes for a minute. You're really good at that. And I've tried to learn that even from you, you know? And so like, I can put myself in Trump's head. Like if I had to take everything that he said and all the different things the administration has said over the last month, and it seems like all over the place, right? And so people that are detractors are like, they have no clue. I can put myself in their brain for a minute and think, okay, I got this ally over there. They really want to go. I agree. This regime is a pain in the ass. It would be amazing if it turned out this way. Look what we were just able to do in Venezuela. We do control all the military around there. They're helpless once we demolish these sites. They can't launch their missiles. I can work myself into the place where it's like, let's just go do it. We'll do it. It'll be over. It won't be popular, but we can, you know, we're the big bully on the block, and everybody else will fall in line. I can totally get there mentally.
Oh, and you might even imagine that by the time the midterms come around, the other side will be punished for not supporting it. Sure.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I'm facing all this political blowback from Epstein. I mean, there's going to be a lot of different things here that are going to just fall together. Just, you know, I'm on a hot streak, you know, at the craps table. Let's just let it ride, man. Let's do it. Let's let it ride again. I've been there. I've done that myself. I see it. I can understand it, right?
Yeah.
But I can also, like, as a voter and a citizen, go, okay, look, I didn't vote for this. You didn't run on this. It's antithesis to everything you said.
Oh yeah.
And obviously your rosy predictions didn't pan out, and you did not have a plan for if they did go sideways. You didn't. Your only plan is let's bomb them more and make more threats. You know, And some of these threats are literal war crimes. Like you're not, you know, Geneva give it, you bombing civilian infrastructure, like bombing civilian targets, like that's on purpose. It's a war crime. I mean, like, so, I mean, we could sit here and go, oh yeah, we're not subject to that court. It's still like, we would consider anybody else that did that war crime.
Can I, so two things, I think, just to kind of move this discussion forward a little bit.
One other thing too,
go ahead.
Because I know you know where you're going.
Yeah.
The other thing about it is like, think about like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, all these other places that have like spent the last couple of decades building up this image of, you know, prosperity and luxury. And I mean, they've invested in the World Cup, they've invested all this other stuff. And then the last year, during the first year of Trump's administration, this time, announced all this investment into infrastructure and all this other kind of stuff. None of that money is now going to materialize because they're not going to have it. They're going to have to reinvest into rebuilding all this stuff that these guys blew up. And also, why would I continue to invest in American infrastructure when the Americans can't even protect? The whole illusion was we give you a bases in our countries and then we're safe because you guys are super mighty and powerful, right? But now we've demonstrated in real time, we can't protect them. We can't protect them from the incoming attacks. We can't retaliate effectively to shut down the incoming attacks. And now we can't even reopen the strait that they depend on. Now, yeah, it's not our problem. You know, even if that was true and there weren't global markets and we were completely self-sufficient, we've screwed them in their economics. So it's like, I don't see how this benefits us in any way. But I mean, I'm here to be proven wrong. I'd love to be proven wrong, but that's the most predictable outcome. I'm making a safe bet here.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, so on that point, what if someone, not this current administration, but some other administration who was facing the exact same set of circumstances, kind of saw what was going on and was like, okay, look, when this regime starts to go down, whenever that is, it's gonna lash out at everybody around it. That's gonna happen.
Predictable.
Okay. And it's not gonna be limited to, you know, the great Satan out there. It's not going to be limited to their enemies. They're going to be shooting missiles at their fellow Islamic countries. They're going to be shooting everything they have. They're going to shoot at everybody, and we know that that's going to happen. We're very sure that's going to happen. And at some point, we're going to need to kind of rip this Band-Aid off because that society is brittle. And it's going to go, this is going to happen at some point. And I think it should happen. The longer you wait, the worse it will be when you do rip that Band-Aid off. We should have ripped it off maybe 10 or 15 years ago. But the buildings that are going to get blown up, they're just going to get blown up now or in 5 years or 10 years. And in 5 or 10 years, it'll be more buildings. And so the ones that are, what difference does it make whether we go now or later, except that we're going to save the future?
Except we started it, and it's laid at our feet. Like for example, you and I have talked many times about the likelihood of the American currency collapsing. Like we know that's inevitable, especially with, I mean, look, 98% certainty, right? Okay, so why not just crash it right now? You know, that using that logic. Like the logic is always kick the can further down the road if you can. Like, hey, you know, the Cuban Missile Crisis is like, hey, we don't know if we averted nuclear war, but we averted it today, right? And it's like, it's better to avoid it today than it is to start it. Yeah. You know, like.
So let's go with your analogy. So Turkey, for example, had a currency collapse where they revalued their currency. I think it was like they removed 6 zeros or something like that. So it's like 5 million is now 5. Yeah. I mean, that's currency collapse right there.
Yep.
But the thing is that they did it then. It was painful. But if they had waited to do it later, it's possible you get like the Weimar Germany thing where like the whole economy crumbles. But in fact, Turkish economy was fine. Like it wasn't great. Like they went through a recession during that time period, but it wasn't like people are like eating their own pets or something. Like it was okay. And so it's like, okay, we're going to rip this Band-Aid off. So sometimes you say, well, no, we're not going to kick this can down the road, because there's a point where you kick it far enough, and now the can, when you do reach it and it can't be kicked anymore, now the can kills you. Yeah,
the can kicks back.
Right. So it's like okay, well, and this is why everyone talks about like the nuclear Iran thing. Where it's like, okay, remember, when this regime goes down, whenever that is, they're going to launch everything at everybody. Now, would you rather those be these drone things coming over, which we can intercept a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them? Or would you rather them be like, not even like a full nuclear warhead, but what about just like a dirty bomb?
Dirty bomb,
and like,
yeah.
you know, or something else. Like, what would you rather have? Because if we kick it down the road, that point, it becomes unkickable, and like the whole region just goes toxic. And so it's like, this is going to be really unpopular. I hate having to do this, and we got to rip the Band-Aid off. So I'm not saying that anybody in the administration is thinking that way. At least no one said that publicly. Or maybe they have. I know Netanyahu's tried to say something kind of like that.
Yeah, but he's like, he's got zero credibility. I mean,
exactly. Yeah. So like
2 weeks,
you
2 weeks.
You just have
2
to
weeks
imagine,
closer than it was 2 weeks ago.
You just have to imagine someone else saying this. And thinking to yourself like, okay, I hate this calculation. I hate that the spreadsheet says we got to attack now, but actually we got to attack now, kind of thing. I would say that's possible.
I don't see that at all. But I mean, if human beings weren't human beings and it was a spreadsheet, then maybe it makes sense. You know, if it's
maybe this is the kind of thing AI would say wants them.
Yeah, 100%. Exactly.
That's and maybe exactly you'd be right. Maybe when it explained it would be like,
well, dude, like, I mean, you watch all these movies. I mean, like, it's like, dude, what's the problem in this ecosystem? It's humans.
It's humans.
It ain't the fucking plants, man. It's humans.
The other point that I wanted to make about all this, and I'm kind of curious, kind of your thoughts, this sort of bigger picture, right? So you talked about this speech that Trump gave. By the way, I hadn't heard about the speech that you're talking about. Has it been authenticated? We're sure it's not a deep fake or anything?
Yeah. I just found it. Here, let me see if I
can. If it's been authenticated, great. I trust you. I just want to make sure that we've done at least a little bit of due diligence.
Well, here, you can judge for yourself here.
Take care of daycare. You got to let a state take care of daycare, and they should pay for it too, unquote. Trump's remarks against welfare schemes and programs did not end here. While emphasizing that the government's central obligation is military protection, Trump went on to call people-centric federal programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and SNAP as all these little scams. Medicaid in U.S., remember, was at the center of a major political storm last year after Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act slashed nearly $1 trillion of Medicaid. The U.S. president made this massive cut in the welfare scheme to partially offset trillions of dollars, which he offered in tax cuts instead. Now, earlier this week, analysis from a watchdog claims that more than 400 hospitals across the
okay, interesting.
I thought that was going to be his actual speech, but yeah.
HuffPo. Well, okay.
Well, I mean, it's his words.
It's not possible for us to take care of daycare, Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things.
Republicans are talking about using a special budget process to pay for the war in Iran, and they're going to want to offset the cost of this new military spending by cutting domestic spending.
No new war. We will keep America out of foolish, stupid, ridiculous.
So here's a thought for you, okay? I know we've talked in here a few times about the difference between like a nation state and an empire. And like an empire's job is to keep violence to its frontier, which of course is always changing, right, as a sphere of influence. So it's like when you say, well, where exactly is the Roman Empire's borders, you know? And we're like, right. Well, you know, under this emperor, it's like that. But then this other one, they move behind this wall and they can no longer project force here, but they can there. And it's like, so it's like this amorphous thing. And an empire is by definition always at war because it is always attempting to keep violence at the periphery so that within the empire, you can experience the emperor's peace. It's kind of lampooned lovely in the Foundation series, right? Enjoy the peace of empire,
yeah.
You know.
Empire, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great series.
Because the peace is within the borders. Outside the borders, that's where war is. And you always are at war. You were always at war.
Sure. I accept that.
So if you think about Now, Trump has never really talked like an empire guy.
He's talked like the opposite. He said,
Yeah.
in fact, that we shouldn't be doing all this stuff, that we need to withdraw and focus on ourselves. So, I mean, like, all of that is what people bought into.
Right. So
I mean,
I think what's really surprising, if those remarks are real, and I assume they are, HuffPo's usually, I mean, they don't, I've never seen them like deep fake stuff.
No, it's being reported everywhere. Yeah.
So assuming those remarks are real, they would be the first, I don't know, admission that America is actually operating under sort of empire paradigm, in which case,
well, it'd be the first empire to say, we're not going to even provide you peace inside our borders because we have to worry about the
no, it's not
at least
that.
on record.
No, it's not that. What it would be is that the empire's primary job is pushing violence to the outside, which means, really like the endless war. Like you're always at war with the Gauls, with the Britons.
Yeah, all of what she said were ridiculous on the campaign trail. Yeah,
but then also,
and not even on the campaign trail. The guy's been pretty consistent. That's the one thing I've given Trump is, like, even though I've disagreed with like so much of what his agenda has been in both terms, the one thing I was always kind of like, tip my hat to was like, he does believe in protectionist policies for trade, and in not getting engaged in dumb places, that don't serve your interests. That's been very consistent, and this is wild. Watch this.
That is the thing that is surprising to me, right? The idea of like, oh my gosh, we're not going to pay for your kids to, like, at 2 years old to go to have something so that you can go back to work. It's like,
that's not what he said though. He's saying daycare, Medicare, Medicaid. These are not 2-year-old kids. This is like also the healthcare of like a third of your population.
Right. So Medicaid is a set of federal state partnership grants, right? The money goes back and forth. So it's taxed up to the federal government and then granted back to the states. So there's a kind of a redistribution thing going on there.
No, but they both contribute. So the state collects taxes and the federal government collects taxes.
Yep. And then the money,
the federal government gives grants. But it's not like the federal government is taking it from the state. That it's that the people in the state are paying federal taxes, and then
it comes back to the state as a grant. Right. It's sort of laundered through the federal government and then comes back to the state.
It's not laundered through the federal government. If the federal government wasn't collecting those taxes, by definition,
it doesn't matter.
No, but by definition, then the state, in order to provide the same, it's important distinction. In order to provide the same level of Medicaid distribution without the federal government, the state would have to raise taxes.
Yes.
Okay. So it's not like it's laundered. It's that this is how much it costs to run this program. Half of the money is paid for by the state. Half of the money is paid for by the federal government. That's or whatever. Well, I don't know if it's half and half.
So the truth of it would be that all of it is paid for by the residents of the country.
Of the state. Yes.
Right. And that for the state, half of the money that goes to the
half of it, part of it's paid for by the residents of the state. Part of it is paid for by the federal. The
residents of the other states.
By the Federal Reserve printing money which is basically us borrowing the money from China at interest and devaluing the currency. So that's so you're double at the end of it.
You pay everyone pays for it through inflation.
That's right.
Whatever method, right? Taxes, inflation, whatever. Like I'm not sitting here worked up about that. What I'm saying though is that like the people are paying for this.
Yes.
Some of it goes directly from them to the state. Some of it takes a round trip through the federal government and comes back. And whether it takes a round trip through taxes or inflation or interest rates or whatever, so that's what's going on. You're paying for it.
So follow that logic. So what he's saying is, instead of your taxes going to pay for people in your state to be taken care of, we're going to have to keep that money that you're paying us because we're going to be fighting these wars over here that you don't want.
Yes. So now here is, I think, the interesting part about the whole. Correct. I am agreeing with your gloss on the statement. Okay.
Gloss.
I think I think the interesting part about it, again, from the empire, nation state standpoint, is that this is to be expected within an empire.
Yeah, but not when your emperor, in the competition of two emperors, one emperor said they were going to do that. The other emperor said they weren't going to do that. So everybody voted for the guy that said he wasn't going to do that. And then he was like, just kidding.
Right. Well, and the reason why is because the people that are required, the demos that are required to install the emperor, are deeply confused about the nature of the empire that they're living in, and they imagine
that's possible. Yeah, that's possible.
They imagine that the empire can continue without the violence being kept to the periphery with the endless war, and so then they're like, we don't want the violence on the borders. Why are we fighting the Gauls? Why are we fighting the Saracens? What's happening?
Many people in the empire, in our case, many people in the empire don't even want an empire. Like, why are we an empire?
Right.
I don't want that.
Right. And so, but I think is the real debate, which of course no one's having. Instead, what they're doing is, like you said at the beginning, I agree, is like they're voting the fewer wars that are necessary to maintain an empire, some more necessary than others, but it's not like you can have an empire without the war. That never happens.
Well, I think what you said is very astute. What I think you said is very astute and is actually quite profound, is that people are confused about the nature of the system in which they live, and I think that's very accurate. And I think the question is, can anything be done about the system that they find themselves in? And I think you certainly, a bunch of us were under the delusion that this crew could actually do something about that. That finally you had, because you and I talked about it, and we can go back and pull tape. We talked about, man, this is finally you have a crew that's not beholden, that's actually saying the right thing. Hey, it's time for us to decouple here. It's time for us to, all of these different things that we were celebrating about this crew. We ourselves were also deluded in that actually nothing can be done. We don't have a representative government at all. There's nothing anyone can say or do about it. In fact, everything that is going to happen has already been kind of pre-planned, and they're just, the president and everybody else is just kind of at the whim of these forces that are dictating things, and they're just reacting to it. And if that's true, then we should just write a new book and find an island we can get a different passport to, because it's like, well, then why are we even having these conversations?
Well, it's ridiculous, the thing is that even
not that we'll be able to much longer, because they're tracking it. The telemetry here is going to say these guys.
No, but look at it this way: even in decline, Roman citizenship was still valuable. So I don't think it's the case. It's like, it's time for us to leave. Like, leave where? You should stay inside the empire while it's still there, or at least we're in the empire's homeland. Which I
don't think it fared too well for the citizens of Rome when it was sacked. But
when it was sacked, maybe I
don't remember, but
yeah, but it kept going even after that. So like sometimes empires can be very resilient. They don't all just collapse like what happened to Alexander the Great. There are people that think the
Third Reich is still a real thing.
What?
Elvis is still alive. The Roman Empire is still a thing.
No. Anyway, I guess I myself have found the statements coming out of the administration over the Iran war to be very confusing, given their previous statements. And I don't mean just like campaign statements. I mean like all the stuff. Like suddenly it's like it's like President Trump was like, who would be a great speechwriter? Lindsey Graham.
Liz Cheney.
Yeah, we should hire the team of them, both Liz Cheney and Lindsey Graham together.
100%.
We should lock them in a room and
Mark
have
Levin
them write
these people,
golden tweets for me, and I will hit send. Like, it's very weird to me, and I'm curious to wonder. I wonder what happened. I'm sure he's super happy.
100%. You see his statement a few weeks ago. He's like, I think the Republicans are in great shape. I mean, we're lowering your taxes and killing all the right people. You're like, what? Literally, that was his quote.
Now that is a consistent man.
How is this guy?
He said that for the last 25 years.
lowering your taxes and killing all the right people. Or maybe he said the other way around, killing all the right people and lowering your taxes. I think that's what it was. We're killing all the right people and lowering your taxes.
So, like I said, I find that whole thing very confusing. And
here's the other thing that
I'm curious to know what changed. I really do want to know. Like something had to have changed where it's like, you know what, neocon, let's go full neocon. And everyone looks around and are like, now's the time. You know, like what was it?
Now's the time. Got to do it, or the can kicks back. Dude, it's here's the thing that's interesting to maybe just shift it slightly is you look at have you watched any of the Joe Kent interviews?
No, I try not to listen to the whole like disgruntled former employee stuff.
But he's not the disgruntled former employee. He resigned in protest, right?
That's not a disgruntled former employee.
Not at all. A disgruntled former employee is somebody that was fired, somebody who gets fired and then turns around and goes, well, and it's like, well, dude, we fired you, so of course you got all this bad stuff to say. This is somebody who you can disagree with his take, right? Totally. But like if somebody had resigned from the Biden White House, for example, and said, I just couldn't do it anymore. The guy's senile and they're walking around the halls going like acting like everything's fine. It's unbelievable. I just can't be a part of it anymore. That's not a disgruntled former employee. We would all be like, dude, this guy's got a lot of courage to come out here and say this, right? So and again, whether you agree with his take or not, or whether you think he has an agenda or not, it is still, I mean, he resigned his post and said, here's why I resigned, open letter. And then everything he's been saying has been consistent with what he said in his letter. So there's no question in my mind that he at least believes what he's saying. You know, whether he's telling the truth about it or not, or whatever. I mean, but he's taken a line that he thinks is the best line, and he's sticking to it.
Okay.
What's interesting to me is people like Tulsi Gabbard, who I have to believe, like watching all of her statements for years and years and years now, there's no way she's on board with this. And the fact that she hasn't said anything, she hasn't resigned, and yet I just heard yesterday that the word is that she's going to get canned as well. And it's like, man, can you imagine this is kind of one of those moments. It's like, it reminds me, like in my own life, I don't have control over any of this, but it's a question of like just personal integrity. Sometimes when you're like, you know, you're faced with some choice and you're like, well, I mean, it's better for me if I just, you know, compromise on this point and go with it. Or I could stand up and make a scene, but I'm not going to do that because it's, you know, let me be a team player, whatever the case, but whatever you know, kind of con yourself into. And then ultimately, you know, you have egg all over your face anyway. Like, you know, the people that like that was the one thing, if you remember during the 2008 election in the primary between Hillary and Obama had the luxury of not being in the Senate when the Iraq war came out. And so, well, I never voted for this, but Hillary did, you know, and it was like this whole thing the whole time. Right. And she could not get out of it because it's like, you know, the only thing for her to do was to just wrap her arms around it. And
say, it was a good idea. I vote on it.
I had faith in their execution. They let me down. They let you down. That was the best line that she could do. Whereas he was like, just kind of like, dude, you know, okay, whatever. I could see a mile away that was ridiculous, right? And whether he could or couldn't have, he wasn't in the Senate and subject to the same kind of pressure that everybody else was. So it was kind of an unfair, in my opinion, argument, but it still worked for him, right?
Sure.
The thing for Tulsi is like, man, if she really is like on that same, let's call it the Joe Kent page or whatever you want to call it, or her own page that she's publicly espoused for years, right? How much better would it have been for her to have, you know, resigned in protest as well? Because then you have a whole career in front of you in terms of like, you know, you have your credibility, you have your integrity. It's the same thing with Dan Bongino. It's like Bongino for years and years and years was like Epstein, huge scandal, all this other kind of stuff. And then now you're the deputy director of the FBI, who is the, you know, if you can go and Google it, like, I mean, that's the person that actually runs the FBI. Like the director is like the public face, but the deputy director is the one that's in the back actually directing the teams and doing all the, you know, the operations guy. And it's like, he's in there for a year, resigns, and now he's on going, oh yeah, well, if only somebody would do something about it, if something could be done. And it's like, dude, what are you talking about? You were in a position to do something about it. You did nothing about it. And then you resigned. And now you're, you know, trying to tell us like, oh, you know, yeah, there was nothing there. We looked at it. It's like, dude, like you can't keep saying that. Like we can all see there's something, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's just, to me, it was an interesting, just on a personal level. It was like, man, what are there, if I'm, you know, if you find yourself faced with that kind of challenge in your personal life, it's like, just let that be kind of a lesson to you, you know, like, stay with your conscience, you know?
And I don't know. So, I mean, obviously if that does happen with Gabbard, I think that I don't think that automatically sort of said, she compromised. I mean, it may be one of those things was like, well, yeah, I wasn't going to leave while there was still a way to, you know, influence this or make it better or whatever, until there needed to be a voice in the room saying no. And it's like, I had to be that voice until they got rid of me because I was, you know, it was too uncomfortable to hear no that much. And so it's like, okay. I mean, I don't think there's anything about staying until they kick you out and trying to be that voice of reason for as long as absolutely possible. So I think I'd feel really different if there was a bunch of these, you know, she tweeted out a bunch of stuff about like, Israel is our most important ally. In fact, they're even more important than America. And you know, like, all this other stuff.
Like you hear some of Ted Cruz.
Yeah. Some of this crazy stuff. You're like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, you know, like if there was stuff like that, then yes. But I don't think she's done anything along those lines. So I think, I'm not saying that she comes out, if this all goes poorly and she gets fired for not going along with it, I don't think she winds up taking a political hit for not resigning in protest or something. I don't think so. I mean, maybe, but the thing is, I don't know what kind of political ambitions she has at this point.
Well, she ran for president twice.
Yeah.
I would not say she's without ambition.
Right.
That would not be my assumption.
But there's a difference between like, yeah, let's do it. We'll be a insurgent candidate and change the conversation to like, okay, it's 12 years later. Are we really doing this? You know,
dude. I mean, like if I had ever thought about, you know, it's like I'm rewatching The West Wing right now.
Yeah.
And
so the Sorkin
landed on Netflix. Yeah, the Sorkin speeches. But it's so interesting, man. It's like what passes for liberalism on that show would never fly as liberalism today. Like if you want any example of how the parties have completely like reshuffled themselves, like when you watch that, you're just like, wow, that's something else, you know, like that's a Democrat saying that, you know, it's like, or that's a Republican saying that. And then on the flip side, just the I don't know, like the respect that they had for the office, the respect that they have for, you know, and that's obviously it's portrayed that way on the show. It's, you know, you're like, well, is that real life? But I you know,
or is it just fantasy?
I had the good fortune of living there for years. And I had friends that worked in both administrations. I was there under Bush and Obama. Under both administrations, I've been in the White House. I've been in the Congress, like, you know, walked the halls. I've eaten in the intern halls. I've walked in some of the secret passageways and stuff, which has just was very cool. But there was that kind of like, I don't know, it's just, there was this idea that reverence. Well, not just reverence for the office, like you're in some kind of holy place, but more like a heavy responsibility to the people, you know, just ultimately like, hey, the people put us here and we're working for them. And even when you got both opposing sides in a room, I mean, you had different ideas on how to serve the people, right? How to best serve the people. But you know, that show was made before Citizens United. It was made before a couple of different court decisions. And I think it's just, it's radically changed since then. You know, like you know, somebody was making this point. I can't remember where I was reading it. It was maybe a couple of weeks ago. But they were like, you know, these two court decisions, one saying that corporations are people. So when you declare that corporations are people, you know, people have rights, right? And when you declare corporations are people, then corporations have those same rights, you know, and you can water them down and say, well, we're not going to give them. I mean, but ultimately, like, they're treated as people under the law. And since people have the right to free speech, corporations also have the right to free speech. And so that's one case. And then the other case was that money is speech. When the court ruled money is speech. So if corporations have the right to speech and money is speech, then therefore you can't limit the amount of money that corporations can give, right? Because That's speech. It's free speech. It's free speech. It's free speech. And it's like, dude, that's not speech. That's ridiculous, you know? And so when you think of like the McCain-Feingold campaign finance reform laws, you know, that were passed, and now, of course, you know, they're completely gone now, you know, with these court decisions. It's like, it's hard to not connect the dots and say, at least could that have something to do with the fact that how non-responsive the government is to the people, and how the government, you know, when you're saying, well, hey, something must have changed, right? Well, it's amazing what, you know, money and pressure and, you know, a slight little dose of blackmail can do to change people's opinion. So it's like, and all of this stuff is in plain sight. Like, you know, you see the court decisions, you see the money, you see the corporate donors, you know, it's like, hey, well, this person just paid $1 million, you know, here, this person just bought, you know, how much Trump coin, this person just blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, but that can't have anything. I mean, these people aren't corrupt, you know? And it's like, yeah, but that's so weird, because now they're doing all these things that are opposite of what the stuff they've been talking about before. And, oh, and here's this Jeffrey Epstein guy, but there's nothing to see here, of course, and we can't prosecute anything. There's nothing to prosecute. Where's the crime? And it's like, they're talking about raping children in these emails. And so, yeah, but we can't prove any of that, you know. And they said grape soda. They didn't say rape. They said pizza, not pizza ass. So we don't know. We don't know what's going on. You know, it's all very confusing, and it's just millions of documents. Who has time to go through them all? But we've gone through everything. We know there's nothing here yet. And it's like, okay, none of that makes any sense. But what does make a lot of sense is that you guys are doing things that the voters never asked for, and that somehow seem to serve the very interests that are involved in all of these three things. It's like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to go, 1, 2, oh, there's a dinosaur here, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we've talked about this a lot before. Like, I don't have any illusions about the current federal government being honest and trustworthy in any way.
The thing
whatsoever.
You don't even expect it. You don't even expect
no,
it. You're like, of course they're liars. Of course.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah, like so I found out.
But that's so foreign. That's so foreign to where we were just like 15 years ago.
I found out the other day there was a big report that had come out on, you know, there's always been this issue with insider trading with people in Congress. And so now a new avenue of insider trading is Polymarket. And so people will put these big bets on Polymarket for like these really strangely specific things that then happen the next day,
hours later,
and then they collect all this money. And it was just like, we're pretty sure that, I mean, most of these accounts are based in Washington, so we're pretty sure these are at least high-level staffers, if not actual elected politicians.
But not smart enough to use a VPN.
I saw the.
That's where you're like, oh my god, man.
Well, I saw the thing, and then I was like, you know, the funny part is that no one will be outraged by this, because we're just all so used to it. We're like, oh yeah, the federal government super corrupt. They're in there to enrich themselves.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And it's just so different from, again, not speaking to the truth or fallacy of a television script, but I'm saying like that was one of the most popular shows on television for years, right? So in terms of what people believed, right? So people believed that their government was that way. Right.
The fact that the TV watching populace found that fantasy to be realistic.
Correct. Yeah, you say it like that.
Fascinating.
But it's not that it's fascinating. It was like that was normal. Now you could not air. I mean, I posted this on Facebook actually about a week ago, and you should see the comments on it. It's like, yeah, that was. Some people are like, that was a different era. Other people are like, no, that was the same era. We just didn't know it, right? A lot of different things like that, and all of that. I mean, who knows, right? I'm just saying that the idea that the people had, right? It's like now that they don't even bother with the pretense. It's like even if you believe that they've always been this corrupt. It's like, well, now they're not even trying to fool you. It's just like, yeah, man. Yeah. But hey, at least those are my criminals. You know, I voted for those guys. So
I voted for those guys.
Yeah.
True though.
It is, man. It is. You know, the other thing I was kind of, what else has been going on besides Iran? There was something else I wanted to talk to you about.
There's been a lot of interesting stuff been going on in AI that I think has been fun, but I don't know how much our audience cares about what's being done right now. Yeah. But,
yeah, it's kind of funny. I think the higher watch count videos have tended to be about politics. You know, have you shifted at all in your opinion about Epstein and that whole thing? Like, have you? Because I know the last time we talked, you were like, "Oh, there's nothing to see here. There's no crimes to see. There's nothing." You know, you were kind of like, "Who cares?" Didn't you say like, oh yeah, well, I mean, there was nothing. They never charged anybody. There was only one person in jail. There's nothing really to see here.
No. I said okay. The fact that there was only one person in jail means that there's this evidence of a vast cover-up, right? So
you think there was a cover-up?
Well, yeah.
Well, obviously. Okay. Look, all right. So we haven't talked about that. So that's good.
Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell, is in prison right now for trafficking children. And none of the people to whom the children were trafficked are in jail at all, or have seen much of any kind of prosecution that I can tell. There's been some backlash against Prince Andrew, although now his prince title I think has been revoked. I'm not sure how the royal family stuff works, but he might face some criminal prosecution. That's still too early to tell on that.
But not America.
Not America.
No
Yeah. In America, it's like, oh yeah, we got the person facilitating it, but the people that she was facilitating it for, will we ever know who they were? You know?
Yeah, it's so hard to know, especially with all their names redacted.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we've got the names right here. Like, it's not even like particularly a secret. And like, no. So from my perspective, that is evidence. The fact that she was in jail and in her prosecution itself, no names were revealed. I thought, and this is what I told people at the time, was that the prosecution of Maxwell was itself part of the cover-up. That by doing it that way and by protecting the alleged people or whatever, that she was given the opportunity to basically go to jail and not be killed in exchange for not saying anything. And she did. And so that's why she's still alive right now. I think that the trial itself was part of the cover-up. So that's me. So,
yeah. So,
but that's the thing is that, like, if you said, oh, we're living in an empire that is in decline and the people that are in charge of it are like basically a bunch of Satan worshipers and degenerates. And it's like, well, that's not surprising for declining empire. So I'm kind of like, oh, okay. You know, like I would love to see those people in jail, but I don't expect it to happen because it's sort of normal for an empire in decline to do that stuff.
They're not going to jail, man. They own the jails.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
I'm not going there. You know?
Yeah.
No.
Not without some kind of French Revolution event.
Did you see that podcast I sent you where they had this rich kid? This kid grew up.
Rich. Show me that one.
And he was like, look, man, the billionaires that run the world, like, think of them as like board of directors, you know, but people think then, oh yeah, so the president of the United States, he's like the CEO and he reports to the board of directors. He's like, no, the president of the United States is like maybe school board president. Like, he's completely irrelevant. If he's not doing what they say or she's not doing what they say, they'll just swap him out. You know, he'll get killed, he'll get moved on. You know, and the thing is, like, if you know, again, you know, whatever. He's just a 18-year-old kid who's probably pissed at his parents, right? So it's just like, okay, whatever. But like, you know, if you take that line of thought out, it's like a lot of things start to make sense. It's like when Trump, I don't know if you heard him say this, like maybe a few days ago, he's like, yeah, we're negotiating with some new people in Iran who do want to talk. And they're like, well, who? Can you tell us specifically who? And he's like, no, because I don't want them to be killed. And it's like, okay, well, who would be killing them, right? So like, was the very first question that I thought. And it's like, okay, well,
then the government of Iran's like, we're not talking to anybody. He's lying. And it's like, no, he wasn't lying. He's not talking to you.
He's not talking to you, which I believe that, you know, I believe he could also be making it up. I believe that too. Cause I mean, he's called in and pretended to be his own press secretary before. Like he's not above some market manipulation. Yeah, well, it's market manipulation. Like if you saw the other day when he made his announcement last Monday that they were having really good talks and the market like jumped up 4 minutes before he made that statement, that huge poly market bet, like over $1 billion of poly market was bet. And it was like, and Poly, well, we're looking into this. It's very suspicious. You think? Yeah, very suspicious. Like somebody was definitely tipped off of what he was going to say. So it's like, it's just like it's like all the, right before 9/11, is like all the airline stocks were shorted mysteriously, like 1 hour before the planes hit the tower. You're like, yeah, but nothing to see. That couldn't have been an inside job. It couldn't be anybody had intelligence about that. What are you talking about? Like clearly somebody knew that was about to go down. Yeah. So it's like when you look back, like you said, like sometimes you can only see when you look back. It's like when you look back, it's like this. At some point, like if you don't believe in a couple of these conspiracy theories, then maybe you do believe in a conspiracy theory. You know what I mean? It's like, well, come on, man.
PDW had something on there that was something like, they're like, I vote that we change the term conspiracy theory to spoiler alert.
Right. Totally. Spoiler alert. Exactly. Yes. Because
you don't believe it yet, but you will. Just wait.
Well, to me, the most, and somebody was, we were talking about this in a little circle when it was coming out that, it came out years ago when Epstein wasn't prosecuted, that the lead prosecutor said, well, I was told not to prosecute him because he was intelligence asset.
Intelligence.
And then of course, then he recanted that later. And no, I don't even know what. No, that's a misquote. You misheard me. I misspoke. Whatever. Mm-hmm. But the thing is like, okay, entertaining that for a minute. It's like if he was an intelligence asset, whose intelligence asset was he? Was he CIA? Yeah. Was he somebody else? Right. And the thing is, there's only two governments.
Maybe a couple of them together.
Well, the thing is, there's two governments that we know. And this, I was listening to this CIA guy talk one time, ex-CIA guy, and he was like, we learned years ago that actually like compromise and blackmail, it doesn't actually like we played with it in the 60s. He's like, but it was kind of determined to be not really our style because people, if you really want somebody to like, if you're really trying to co-opt somebody and recruit somebody to work for you, yes, you can leverage them, right? Of course. But we found that the best results, you want those people to fall in love with you. Like if they fall in love with you and they see that you're like, like you're on their side and they have affinity with like what you believe, that person is a lifelong asset and they'll be way better at concealing themselves and all this other kind of stuff over time. And so, yeah, you could leverage some people.
They want you to succeed.
They want you to succeed versus somebody who's being blackmailed, right? However, despite that, the GRU and Mossad are two big ones globally that disagree with that and are like, well, we collect compromise on everybody. So like if you go to any event in Russia, for example, convention, anything, you can just assume that they got cameras in the hotels, you're being recorded. So that girl that you picked up in the bar or whatever, brought back to your room with you or whatever, like she was in on it, the whole thing, right? And so if you kind of like,
if you admire yourself in the mirror after you take a shower, that's probably there's gonna be a picture of that somewhere. So you just be totally normal, the most boring version of you possible.
Yeah, exactly. Don't even take a shower. I'm in my swimsuit all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. There'll be a picture of that. He takes a shower in his swimsuit. He's never swimsuit.
Well, and the guy was telling this story, the CIA guy, and he was like, there was this sheik or something that was like this high mullah or something that they had all this blackmail on of him with like these underage girls, right?
Ooh, okay.
And so they had confronted him. This was back in the 60s. He was saying like, I can't remember what country it was, but he's like, we're in this room, we lay out all these pictures, and we're like, okay, here's what we have on you. We don't want it would be a shame if these came out and And so, here's the deal we're willing to offer you. And so he kind of sits there in silence for a minute and he's looking at the pictures and he's looking at them, looking at the pictures, and they're like, well, we need your answer. And he's like, okay, my answer is I want this one in an 8x10. I want this one blown up into poster size. Can I get 3 wallet shots of this? And they were just like, ultimately like this guy, like he rules this place with an iron fist. Like who's going to judge him for anything that he does? He's just like, screw you, man. And so that was one of the one of the things that went in the pile of like, hey, let's try a different strategy.
this is not working the way we thought.
Yeah. I'll take 4 wallet sizes. But it was so funny to me, the big red kind of blinking light on like, because like, was he CIA, Russia, Mossad, all this other kind of stuff? When the media started going crazy with like all these stories saying, oh, he was Russian, he was working for the Russians. It was like, okay, so he's definitely not working for the Russians.
Definitely not working for the Russians. Yeah.
Yeah. So
we've heard that one before.
Yeah, I know I know how this game is played. Yeah.
Well, and probably if he was working for the Russians, we probably wouldn't know about him.
Well, so I don't know if you've seen some of the different things about like, which I
just have so much respect for that country's a long history of high quality intelligence services that it's like, would he be in and out of American courtrooms? If he was like the first time that happened, he would just be gone.
Yeah.
And been replaced with someone that was more effective. Like, I just don't, but I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, they've been brainwashing their own people since Stalin, man. Like they got a good track record and know what they're doing. I really, you hear reports that he's actually still alive. Like they have sightings of him. He's had sightings of him in Israel predominantly. And one person made a great case, which do you remember that Sherlock Holmes movie, like way back in the day, where it was like, actually the human ear is like very distinct. Like your ear shape doesn't change over time. So like your ear and your nose are the only things that in your whole body that keep growing. And it's kind of funny. I was seeing Leon Panetta on the news the other day, and I saw this old clip of Leon Panetta like 30 years ago. And it's like, damn, the nose and ears really do keep growing. Like, that's crazy. But the ear like doesn't change shape. And it's like, and you've seen all these comparisons. I don't know, with like the Epstein corpse. It's him laying on his back. That's the most popular picture, and you kind of see the side profile. And it's like, bro, these are not the same ears. Like, this is not the same person, Yeah. So,
well, and it wouldn't at all surprise me too. Like, that seems like a reasonable thing. There were so many questions about his death. His body was cremated almost immediately. We're pretty sure that the autopsy has nothing to do with the actual cause of death. Like, oh, one other thing about the death, it was somebody else's body. Okay. It's not. I mean, it's not even like, whoa, this was so by the book. I'm so surprised. Not that. What?
My friend Amber just chimed in. She goes, I was told by MAGA that we have to move on from Epstein. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. So sorry. Sorry, President Trump. We are still talking about that guy, Jeffrey Epstein.
Speaking of MAGA, I've been cruising a little bit.
Is that still a thing? Is that still a thing?
Oh yeah. I've been cruising Patriots.win.
What are they saying? What do Patriots.win say? Are we winning? Are we tired of winning yet?
Yeah. So they seem like they're just taking this in stride. Like, no problem. Like, they're still trying.
Well, here's the thing. My question is, because I've heard that. I've heard like 100% of MAGA is with Trump, right? Well, yeah. So if you define MAGA as everyone who 100% agrees with Trump, then yes, all MAGA agrees with Trump. But like, if you look at if you step back just objectively and look at the coalition that elected Trump this year, last year, that coalition is absolutely gone, right? Like, it's very difficult. I mean, like, Tucker Carlson, gone. Megyn Kelly, pretty much gone. Charlie Kirk was exiting verbally before he was assassinated. So
I'd heard that. That seems likely to you?
No, there's video. There's video of him a week before on Megyn Kelly's podcast saying how, from his perspective, Israel was the pressure campaign on conservatives and MAGA people to basically toe the Israel line He's like, it was just out. He's like, it's outrageous. He'd been getting threatened with like, people, he'd lost like millions of dollars worth of donations and stuff like that leading up to it. And he was like, dude, you should watch the video. It's amazing. He's just like, I told him, take your money and go. Like, he goes, we're here to serve. The thing is, like, I think, I don't, obviously everybody's having their own experience, so like, I mean, it's not for me to question his experience, but if he's saying, he's relating his own experience and he's saying, this is what's happening to me and I don't like it. And then people start say, oh, well, he never said anything like that. Okay, well, here's the video of him saying that. Okay, well, he didn't really mean it. It's like, well, dude, you're not here to speak for him. He's not here to speak for him. All we have is his words saying what he said. So like, we have his text messages, which Candace Owens has been like completely like, I mean, she's
got the text message,
treasure trove. I mean, dude, and she's so great because she will not tell people what she has. She'll get on the phone or whatever, question them, tape them, record them, and all this stuff. And it's like, here's their saying this never happened, blah, blah, blah. And then here are the text messages proving that it absolutely did happen. I don't know if you saw the one where Meghan McCain had chimed in at some point on Twitter or on X. And she was like, oh my God, please quit sharing dead people's text messages. It's completely gross. Right. And Candace's response was a screenshot of a text Charlie had sent her saying Meghan McCain is a piece of shit. It was the best comeback I've ever seen in my life. I was just like
how about
no comment, no nothing, just screenshot, right? And I'm like, oh my G is just on fire right now. But all these people. So you think about all the people that were on board with. I mean, the Theo Von podcast. I mean, he was Joe Rogan, Andrew, what's his name, Schultz. You can go down a whole list. Who are the other people that I was you were like, and they were kind of where I was.
Influencers, kind of.
The what they call it, the podcast election. The people that were Elon Musk, all these different people that are like that. Even people like myself that I didn't vote for him, but like I was like, dude, like between these two messages, I don't trust the it was hard for me because like you guys were like, oh, how are you going to vote for that? I'm like, I can't vote for either one of these two because I don't agree with half of what she's talking about or what that party stands for anymore. I have no idea what's going on with them. And then on the right, I can't vote for these people either because they're proven liars. Like, I mean, like not Vance necessarily, but like, but Trump, like, I mean, the guy's a liar. Like, I don't care what, but he's like, oh, Trump's never told a lie in office. You're like, what are you talking about? Like, here's one. But whatever. Fine. People trust him. They trust him. But at this point, it's hard to say. Like, Dave Smith is another great one. I don't know if you ever watched Dave Smith, but he's a comedian, but he's also like very like into the whole like he's just a critique of the nation of Israel. Like basically he's Jewish himself, but he's like, look, their policies are like
politically
just completely destructive in the region. And why, like we're taking all this money from them and we're giving all this money back to them. And like, it seems like we're doing their bidding half the time. And so, but he was like on the Trump train for a minute. Like, look, this guy's making way more sense than that. If they deliver on this stuff, like he loved Tulsi, he loved all these different people. And it's like, gosh, like Tulsi Gabbard, former Democrat, comes and endorses him, all these different people. And you're like, RFK Jr. And you're like, well, geez, man, that's a damn good coalition. And it's like, whether you agree or disagree, just in terms of coalitions, that was a really powerful coalition. And had they kept that together and actually delivered on what they were selling, you could see where that coalition they wouldn't need to do any shenanigans. Like they could just get popular support to continue going.
Sure.
But I don't see that as a very good possibility now because like the people that they have chased off or yelled at or called stupid or all this other kind of stuff. So if you cared about Epstein, for example, even Alex Jones has thrown Trump overboard, which I never thought I'd see that, but that happened like a few days ago. And Jones is like, he looks like, he was talking about his physical condition. He's like, these are signs of heart disease, like, oh, Alex Jones, oh, you don't look at this, like how he talks. And, but even he's like, dude, like, I don't know what's going on here. This is not what we signed up for. This is not. So like, if you lost Alex Jones, you lost Candace, you lost Tucker, you lost Megan, you lost Dave Smith, you lost Joe Rogan, you lost all these different people. Anybody who cared about Epstein, we don't care about you. Anybody who cared about domestic spending, nope. Anybody who didn't want foreign wars, nope. So like all these different things that were touch points, what do you have left? The fact that we're not going to let men compete against women in sports, like, okay, I mean, I guess that's I mean, I don't want men competing against my daughter in sports either. I understand that. And like a lot of people got pissed at me because I'm like, like I used to be like, dude, let the trans people be, And now I'm like, dude, let them be, but don't let them compete. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like once you have a kid, it's like, I think it changes. Yeah. It changes your dynamic a little bit. You start thinking about like, wait a minute, is that fair to the girls? Like, it doesn't make any sense, So Ann Coulter, yeah, Amber just put up here Ann Coulter. Dude, he lost Ann Coulter. Like, it's like very difficult to see like how I've never seen somebody just consciously like blow up their own. It's most of the time it's like, man, no, this is part of our constituency. We have to at least address their concerns. It's like, no, your concerns are stupid. It's like very odd, very odd. We don't want these losers. Oh, hey, I lost you. Is your audio still on over there? Oh, your battery may have died on your mic. Yeah. Wah, wah.
Wah, wah.
There you go. Now I can hear you.
Okay.
I just didn't want your wisdom to disappear into the ether, man.
Like
I was about to ask Amber or Anthony, hey, can you guys hear Russell?
I have an extra mic, but we'll let this one charge up. Yeah. So it may just be the case that I think for you and I as political consumers, I mean, we're not running for office. This is actually perhaps good news for us.
Yeah. For sure, man.
Mainly
the sale of popcorn is going through the roof.
Well, there's that. But thinking about 2028, if what you're saying is true, then 2028 is wide open. Like really, really wide open. Because all the issues will be up for grabs, which means both parties, if they're like, hey, look, both parties seems to have thrown away all their constituents. Like the Democrats are like, labor unions, they're stupid,
Right. Right.
Suburban moms, who cares? All sort of stuff. And then the right is like, we're anti-war. Why would we want them anymore? Kind of stuff. And so now you wind up with a big pot of very, very popular issues that different candidates
that are up for grabs. That's interesting.
Can go try to make a play for, and especially if they can play for, if they can find. Because here's the thing about the Trump coalition that I've always appreciated, but I found kind of strange, was that most of it was sort of anti-government in a way. So like you had RFK Jr. was like, government is basically screwing with everyone's health through these policies. And then you've got Gabbard, the government is messing, is starting these wars inappropriately. You have the government is wastefully spending. The government is covering up your, these terrible crimes and all sorts of stuff. And it's like, oh, government bad, government bad. So now you're in charge. And it's like, well, that's not the most ideologically durable coalition in the world, right? Government bad, like, well, who's going to run stuff? Like who, unless we're planning on shutting parts of it down, which by the way, may be kind of the play here from Trump with the Medicaid thing. It's like, yeah, what if we just shut down federal Medicaid and leave it to the states? And we're just not doing that. You do that. And then if you screw it up, well, that's on you. And the states that do it well, that'd be better for them. And why should we be involved? I gotta solve this thing out here with the Gauls.
The Gauls.
Gauls. And
I got bigger fish to fry, man. I'm trying to save your life.
Yeah. So
trying to keep your women from being pillaged.
Yeah. So I think that's interesting. Like in 2028, I would expect probably by the end of this year. I think right now the issue is going to be, and this is going to be probably decisive, is whether or not there's enough energy on the left to basically vote for whatever clowns the Democrat Party right now is putting forward in order to somehow impeach Trump again. I think if they can get that and enough energy to where it's like this is the impeachment train, and it's like we're gonna make sure the last 2 years after winning the presidency 3 times, twice, that's like the last 2 years he's not gonna be able to do anything because he's gonna be, and he's already 80, so it's like impeachment, and it's like if they can get that, I don't think they're running on anything other than that right now. So 2026, I think, is kind of a wash. It's going to be 2020, like mid 2027, when you start to see where the deck actually is going to be stacked. So that'll be good.
Yeah. It may be. Did you read? I sent you that book a while back, but I don't know if you had it. Did you read that Accidental Superpower that I had told you about?
I have it. I just read the introduction, but I hadn't started up yet.
I think you'll dig it. I mean, the guy is he's kind of like a Jared Diamond kind of a guy. It's more like from a zoomed out anthropological like resources, geography. In a lot of cases, the accident of geography that determines so much, even in people's lives. But certainly in nation states' lives. And it's like this nation state, because they're landlocked, they didn't have access to this, and that made them develop this way. This nation, like England, for example, because they're on an island, they were forced to develop a navy, and because of that navy, they were able to have supremacy around the world because they could move people around really quick at that time, right?
But at this time, before that, this is a backwater.
That's right. Yeah. And so it's like things like that, which is like, it's like, okay, well, looking forward, let's say, and this was, I really hope you take a chance to listen to that Tucker Carlson interview. And I have to say, dude, I've said Tucker Carlson a couple times in this podcast. I'm amazed at my own evolution on Tucker, because I've always thought Tucker was a complete dweeb and almost like just like one of these people that's almost too smart for his own good. It's like, dude, you're outsmarting yourself. You're not seeing the forest for the trees. For years, I thought that watching him. I'm just like, dude, I can't get down with that. But the last few years, he's been really spot on in so many of his analysis. I think he when he came clean on the Iraq War and was like, dude, I was just duped. He's like, I listened to people. I went out there and said the talking points. It wasn't because anybody was forcing me to. I bought into the bullshit, basically.
I thought it was true.
I thought it was true, and ultimately, I was conned. And also, though, I'm a smart person. I have the ability to research. I just chose not to because that narrative fit better into my worldview at the time. And he's like, I was wrong, And that is, to me, that's one of the hardest things I think for somebody to do, anybody to publicly, especially when you've been so vocal about something, to be like, dude, it's almost like it's easier to believe that somebody was conned than to say that you were conned by somebody. Like that is very, very, very difficult, for whatever reason. And but he was talking, this podcast that I just shared with you yesterday is absolutely worth listening to, because he's like, he makes the point, which I think you'd agree with, that however this shakes out, the Iran situation, however it shakes out, the deck is being reshuffled right now. And I know you're a big fan of shuffling the deck. And he's like, the deck's being shuffled because whoever, I can't forget the way he said it. It was something to the extent of, we like to say, hey, daddy's home, or whatever, right. You're right. It's like, oh, daddy's back, he's going to whip everybody into shape, and it's like, whoever's in charge is whoever can open up that strait. So whoever opens up the strait, at some point, the strait will be opened. Okay. And whether it's us opening it, let's say by force, or let's say the Chinese coming in and brokering some kind of diplomatic settlement or whatever, whoever opens up that strait is going to be elevated in stature, seen by everybody. It's like, look, this person, these people, they brokered this deal. They opened this up, because so much of agriculture, pesticide, all this different stuff that comes through there, the whole world relies on. And it's like, it's like, if you can't reopen the strait, then you're not in charge. Right. So if Iran can keep the strait closed, then as you see every day that it goes by that they keep it closed, not only have we lifted sanctions on them, so now they can sell their oil with impunity to everyone, and they're raking in billions of dollars. They're collecting billions of dollars in tolls. They're collecting it not in dollars, right? So none of that is good for us. So like from their standpoint, dude, the longer we keep this going, the better it is for us. Like, it's not good that our infrastructure is being bombed. It's not good that our citizens are being killed, but we don't care about our citizens anyway. Like, so, I mean, they will kill you if you don't toe the line anyway. So like, if everything that we're saying about the regime is true, that they don't care about their citizens and they're repressive and all this, well, they don't care. And so the people that are in charge, they're going to keep breaking the money in. The more money that comes in, the more they're able to then dole out to their people to say, hey, here's some subsidies, here's some this, here's some food for grocery. Here, we're going to do a holiday on this, we're going to do a holiday on that, whatever the case may be, which then causes the people to go, well, hey, I mean, okay, well, maybe this isn't as bad as we thought, or whatever the case may be. And then it's like, well, these assholes keep bombing us, but at least our government's looking out for it, because people are, as a herd, not smart. And so it's like, it's better for them to keep it closed, because they're 100% in control of what goes in and out of there. And because of the pressure being put on the markets by the restriction of those commodities, they can rake in all kinds of money that they couldn't rake in before the war started. They were under sanction, couldn't sell it except on the black market. Now they can sell it to everybody with impunity using SWIFT, even if they wanted to, right? So like Trump said, yeah, sell it. We need the oil on the market. So from their standpoint, if they keep it closed, they're in charge. And they're becoming more and more globally relevant the longer this goes on. On the other hand, if whoever can put an end to this, so if it's us doing it by force, okay, then we'll get some extra clout. People will be like, oh shit, they actually made it happen, right? Like to your rosy prediction, right? But if it's anybody
not prediction, it's a scenario.
Correct. Your rosy scenario. So like but if they keep it closed or somebody else opens it, if one of those two outcomes, which I think one of those two is more likely than us bombing them into submission. If that happens, that will be a massive restructuring of the way people view, like certainly nobody's going to care to the same extent about American power anymore, because it's like, dude, you depleted your whole stockpile on these people. It's going to take you billions of dollars. So what are you going to print more money? But now half of your coalition that was only buying in dollars is now buying in something else, which is putting more pressure on your currency, which is causing interest to now take up more of what your money, whatever you call that, is being devoted to. So like our ability to continue to project force in the same way, a lot of it was mental, right? It's like, oh, we can't because daddy's going to whoop us. And
the Americans,
Americans, right? But now it's like, well, the Americans. So I think if that dynamic changes, then what Tucker was talking about on the podcast, the second half of it is like, okay, what does that new world look like? That new world probably for us looks more like a more at least hemispheric concentration. Like we'll be less interested in doing that stuff because we do have a lot of our own resources. We're probably, let's say 10, 12 years from what the oil industry says away from actually, if it was like, hey, we have to generate and produce and consume all our own oil, could we do that? Yes, but we need more refineries. We need more of this and that and the other. And so,
but it can be done.
It can be done.
It's not like it'd be even that hard. It's just we need a lead up. There's manufacturing that has to happen. Prices
so
have
even
to
if
remain
you
stable, et cetera.
That's right. And so if you say, okay, well, let's say we do that super fast, and it only takes us 7 years instead of 12, right? You're still looking at, the imprint of this, the hangover from this being at least the next decade. And then you also look at, okay, well, we've damaged our relationship with Canada and Mexico. We're antagonizing with, Ecuador's with us, but like Brazil, all these other countries in South America, they have huge reserves of water and all this other kind of stuff down there that we could use. Does that drive us, like, let's say not these guys, but the next administration that comes in, or maybe, 2 administrations later, do you have more sober people that come in and go, dude, we'll be a lot better off if we form friendly partnerships and resource sharing in this hemisphere with each other? Does that turn into maybe a much better world in 15 or 20 years from now? There's a lot of possibilities on the other side of this. But none of them are our empire is stronger than ever. It's more like, no. This move, the most likely outcome is going to be a shrinking of and certainly a recalibration of what we call currency and how we how we perceive our economy and our trading partners.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Tony just said, I had drinks with Mayor Willie Brown last month. This makes me a moderate.
Hey,
Tony is making a really good point here. He says he's the only issue on the economy. Tony,
only issue is the economy, as you say.
Yeah, he's if you remember Tony, my old roommate in San Francisco. So he lives with this family in I think Marin County, but he's always pissed at Democrats out there because of how ridiculous. I mean, they collect all these taxes, they deliver nothing. Like somebody was saying, the high-speed rail in California.
Yeah.
So did you see that? The tweet where the guy goes,
it's cost more money to do nothing than it's cost China to put like 3 or 4 of them in place or something like that.
30.
Oh,
30 of them. 30.
Yeah.
And
for the same amount of money as nothing.
As nothing. And they're like, they've been working on this longer than, and they list all these different things that you're kind of like, what? And then one of them was Timothy Chalamet's entire existence. And it's like, dude, like for most people, Tony, I don't know how you feel about this, but for most people, I certainly feel this way. I have no problem paying taxes, okay, if I'm getting something back for it, right? So it's like, I like having a police department. I like having a fire department. I like having public schools. I like, if they're well run. I like, which mine are. I like all those different things. I have no problem paying taxes for it, because if I didn't pay taxes for it, I'd have to pay for it some other way, right? Sure. So if you're saying, hey, I'm going to raise your taxes, but you're not going to have to pay for daycare anymore, or I'm going to raise your taxes, but you're going to have health insurance, or high quality health insurance. I'm going to raise your taxes, but you're going to get whatever. But the most infuriating thing to a taxpayer is like, I'm going to raise your taxes and then blow your money on bullshit, and it's like California specifically, like, and Tony, you're not the only one. I mean, like, I have so many friends from California that are like, dude, $24 billion to reduce homelessness that didn't reduce homelessness at all. In fact, ballooned homelessness. It's like, how can you, and that's not a federal line item. That's a state line item.
And I'll tell you the story, then we got to bail. We've been on here for an hour and 40, but my mother-in-law was talking about this. So she, I don't think it would be inappropriate to say she tends to think more along the lines of a left side of politics, but I don't want to like put her in a box.
Seattle, right?
Yeah, she's from Seattle. Yeah. She's a little bit more left. And she was asking me about this. She's like, you follow politics. What's the deal with the homelessness thing? Like, you seem to spend a lot of money on it. Nothing seems to happen. Like, what's going on? It's like, I said, let me explain to you. You're not actually spending money on homelessness. Like, if you were doing that, the problem would be solved almost instantly. What you're doing is you're spending money on government programs that involve homelessness. And that doesn't mean giving the homelessness things. Like, first, what you have to do is you need to put aside money to study the problem. And if you're going to do that, that's going to be a big block of millions and millions of dollars but you're not going to do the work yourselves as the government agency, because you're just going to manage that. What that's going to be is grants.
The NGOs.
And the first grant that goes out, well, NGOs, universities, schools of public work and not public work, social work and stuff like that. And then the first grant that they apply for is a grant to get the grant, right? So like the first grant is like, we would like to reserve some of our time for our highest end professors and graduate students to be able to create the grant proposal that'll unlock the amount of money. So first we need, $50,000 for grants writing support, which goes into a competitive thing. You have people that do it. And it's like, I was going through here's the process. I've seen the process. I know what it looks like, and then it's like, then you get that grant and then you write up the real grant and then that goes in. This is years later. And all the people that are in charge of the grant writing stuff, all those people need to be paid. All this needs to be paid. University needs to get their cut of it. Everybody gets cut out of it. And so, the grant that was $10 million to study homelessness
comes up with the observation that, wow, actually homelessness is a problem.
Homelessness is a problem. And then we've identified 5 or 6 different things that could be used in order to end it. And so then those 5 or 6 things are like, okay, we're going to do another thing where we're going to find a group to rate those 5 things. And then You're going to score them, but that rating process is also competitive, which means they need to apply for grants to do it, and then grants to do the actual writing and so on. And so then we get them scored, and we find there's 3 things. We're going to do a pilot program for those 3. And so now we need to get some NGOs involved in doing those 3. And so then there's a grant. It's like, guess what? At the end of this, you're going to spend 5 years. You'll be able to tell your voters that we spent $150 million in the last 5 in just our district in figuring out homelessness, but zero money
has gone to homeless people.
Has gone to actually help
to the people experiencing homelessness.
To the people experiencing homelessness, those experiencing being unhoused, and so and it's like that. That's just normal. That's what's going on. And so if you're wondering, like, well, why are we spending all this money? You're not spending it on homelessness. You're spending it on other stuff, the stuff that it's involved in studying homelessness and the bureaucracy.
And by the time that it's actually time to deploy the money into the community, all the incentives and structures are in place to perpetuate the problem, because we can't solve this problem, because if we solve the problem, we'll all be out of business. So, yeah.
Right. Your school of social work needs to be lined up for the next grant opportunity. And so it's like a whole pipeline, a whole train.
Man.
So think about so Houston's,
and that's where Tony, like, he and I have been around and around on this kind of topic for years, because I'm like, dude, doesn't it make sense to like pull the resources together, economies of scale? And Tony, if you just said this one thing, it would have been the end of all arguments, which is, yeah, but that's not what they do. Yes, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
And that's not what they do.
That's not what they do. So there are places that do. So Houston, for example, has experiences very low rates of homelessness relative to other large cities. And partially the reason why is we're the largest city, I think, in the world that is a housing first city. So the city will buy up blocks of apartments or old hotels, do some renovation for them, and then they will move en masse homeless people from the streets or whatever, camps, into these things, making sure that they have like veterinary services for their dogs, pets. Sometimes those pets are the only things keeping these people alive, something to take care of. And they will not go in without their pets. Mailing address, all this other stuff, mental health services. And it's like, if you can solve that problem first, you actually wind up spending less money than you would have on all the emergency services and police services that the people that on the street would consume and also use up from the people.
And see, to me, so
it's like we save money.
That math has always made so much sense. It's like, dude, if we, yes, we're spending this money, but if we didn't spend this money, we would be spending this other money to clean up all this stuff. So it's like pick your poison. Like, why are we doing that? It's like, well, the money's going to be spent regardless. You want a clean city?
Right.
Okay. You want a clean city? We're going to spend the money this way or this way, So like, if we spend it this way, not only do we spend less money, which that should be the end of the argument right there, but we get better results. We get better results and we spend less money, and we give these people some dignity, at least the potential of it,
Yeah. Potential. And for a lot of people, there's nothing that can be done because of the issues going on with their lives cannot be solved by social programs. But then for a lot, this is like the difference between them living in a tent during the summer and not being able to go look for work because your stuff is going to get stolen if you walk away, and potentially being able to like have some kind of life. So there are solutions to this, but it involves communities like actually directing the money towards the problem and not directing the money towards the things that leech off the problem. And it seems like some governments, including the U.S. federal, and from what I can tell, the California government, really seems like their government spending is all directed towards like the leeching things. Very little that goes anywhere.
Well, dude, I appreciate the conversation as always, man. So I know you got a jet, but this was a good one. So hopefully the next time we get on here next week, they'll have this all wrapped up. I mean. Mission accomplished. That's all that's missing is a banner on a warship, So, yeah, and the president flying in the backseat of a fighter plane. That's assuming Trump could fit in there.
He's 80. Yeah. I don't think you should be in one of those.
Maybe more of a B-52 or something. Carry.
Strata Fortress.
All right, man. Cheers. We'll talk next week or whenever.